Someone shoot me. Does anyone have any precision of language in this fucking podcast?
Web stores, you've seen what good looks like, but have you experienced great? AppCharge is the direct-to-consumer platform that powers over $500 million in transactions each year for top studios. They're not just another vendor. They're backed by Supercell and built by monetization veterans from Moonactive, Playtika, and other industry giants who understand the difference between merely functional and the truly exceptional. What sets them apart? Deeply personalized web stores with custom design offers, industry-leading monetization features, seamless in-game payment integration, and a robust SDK. While 70% of top-grossing games already have web stores, the ones scaling the fastest are doing it with AppCharge. Ready to transform good into great? Learn more at appcharge.com.
Hey, are you building a game, launching an app, or considering an acquisition? Well, in that case, Deconstructor Fund Consulting is here to help you out. We do everything from market research to go-to-market strategies to live ops optimization and due diligence. We're trusted by some of the most beloved game development companies, makers of tools and tech, as well as some of the most renowned investors. Now, if you are building, launching, or buying, don't do it alone. Do it with us. Connect by emailing to consulting@deconstructorofun.com.
Hey, everyone, and welcome to TWIG 343. I'm Jen Donahoe. I fill the marketing and publishing role on today's lovely podcast. Lot to cover. First, we have
Eric Kress, strategy and investing.
Phil Black, monetization czar.
Mishka Katkoff, I'm filling in the founder grifter role here then.
an Oakland Raiders fan.
No,
I mean, I guess
Raiders.
it's Vegas fan, but
Vegas. Definitely
yeah.
not Oakland fan. Raiders, not Oakland as a whole. I'm sorry for everybody who lived in Oakland. I felt very scary every time I visited Oakland.
Geez.
So,
do you have a New York Yankees cap too somewhere in there? Like
I
a proper
don't.
European?
I don't. I kind of like. I have Dodgers caps because I like LA. Yeah, you know. I do like LA. It's
fighting words.
I like spots in LA, especially where Jen lives. That's my one of the favorite spots in the world, not just LA. It's amazing.
The Swedes know nothing about Los Angeles or being adored.
Well, Jen lives where all the Swedish hockey players live, so they do know.
It's true. Yeah, they all live in Manhattan Beach. All right, here's what we got going on the episode today. A lot of U.S. regulatory changes, and it's never been more fascinating. Google loses again to Epic in the Epic v. Google lawsuit. We'll dissect that. Cress, thank you for pulling that in. How Probably Monsters downscales from AAA to AA. They're in the news a little bit this week. Lilith Games portfolio review. Thank you, Phil, for doing that. Roblox continues to crush it, hitting peak CCU records in July overall, and especially with Grow a Garden. EA's college football is back for year 2 and seems to be topping the list of PlayStation games. Not sure that we're going to have time, but I saw this morning. There's a new esports celebrity gaming league called the GGL, Global Gaming League. They are touting it as the NFL meets WWE with, quote, celebrities. And, you know, it's like T-Pain and is running it. And
T-Pain?
Yeah, he did a thing on Twitch. Yeah. Oh, that's why I'm saying, quote, celebrities. It's like, you know, my life on the D-list.
That's like no offense to T-Pain, but he was cool when I was like 18, and I'm far away from being 18.
What is this, Jen? This is like brand marketing AI slop. What is this?
T-Pain.
Global Gaming League? Like this hits every single brand button. This is a monster, Jen.
It gets
what
worse.
Is this?
So, like, a lot of the big publishers just signed on because they're going to compete in games like, get ready, Tetris, Trapmania, Call of Duty. Okay, fine, COD. They have their own thing. Tony Hawk Pro Skater, Brawlhalla, Tekken, and Rocket League. And I just, you know what? Those Tetris matches, they're going to be like so riveting. Can you not wait to watch celebrities battle it out in Tetris?
If it's T-Pain, yes. I think he had a song called Booty Love or something like that. Like, this is what we're talking about.
Oh, gosh. Anyway, all right. So the first thing I wanted to just touch on really quick was Sensor Tower did a little LinkedIn post. And in the US, we have this kind of partnership that's a little bit of a buzz. It's a celebrity partnership with Sydney Sweeney and American Eagle. It's a little bit controversial. I'm not going to get into that aspect, but Sensor Tower had this lovely little infographic that had some fun stats that because of this controversy, there's an 18% increase in installs week over week, also accompanied by what they say is a 14% increase in ad spend. But 60% of those installs were one-star reviews. So people were just coming in and like review bombing what is in a sense this campaign. So, I just thought it was kind of an interesting thing. If you're doing a celebrity partnership, we love to discuss those here. Be a little careful if you go edgy. Review bombing is still a thing. Phil, does it matter though? I don't know. Who cares?
I just think we have to, from a historical perspective, give gamers proper credit. Like we talk about gaming being the forefront of all these technologies, like the first best use case is often what you hear for Web3, right? It's not so much the case with AI. I would also say the origin of like online activism has not been properly traced back to gaming. And like review bombing is like one of the first tactics that like gaming invented. The online gaming agenda exists and they know how to rally. And this is one of their like agenda tools is to review bomb. If you remember, Steam had to introduce those bar charts. So now you can see the ratio of positive and negative for a Steam game over time, and you can examine where people started to like dogpile on. So there'll be people with, the meme is always 1,000 hours of development or 1,000 hours of game time, thumbs down. Game is trash, hate it. So I would say, I don't think you can take that stuff too seriously. I would say the only key, right, is if your stars go below a certain level, is sometimes that can affect featuring.
Yep.
And that's where I think this becomes an issue, is if there's, harm in the algorithm. And I would push that back to the platforms on whether or not they can control for that.
Yeah. Do you remember, Cress, back in the day, I think when you and I were at EA and Mass Effect had like I don't know, did they killed the main guy, I guess, spoiler for Mass Effect. And then all of the fans went and rated EA the worst place to work. And this was like the same year of like the Exxon Valdez, like killing all of the wildlife with the oil spill. Do you remember that?
Right.
And ahead of like cable of like 2008.
Baker America, who was like extracting money out of accounts and like all this other stuff. And EA and Comcast was also like the devil back then. So that was ridiculous.
Yeah, Phil, you're right. Like gamers love to have been review bombing since 2008. But anyway, it looked like the stock price took a really big increase too from all of this. Okay. Shill, Mishka.
2 more weeks or 1 more week before Gamescom. So quick shill on the events, and then we can talk about the other content. Gamescom Heroic Party. So I think we're closing to 1,000 people signed up for that one. We're going to start letting more people into the event, but it's going to be really cool. We went through it today with the floor planning. There's 2 levels. There's the rooftops. There's casino tables. There's going to be arcade machines. So definitely, if you haven't signed up, sign up. And then we're probably going to do 2 sets of invites. We're trying to figure out how to get maximum amount of people in. And then whiskey tasting. It's not going to be 150 people, like you said in the last time. It's going to be exclusive. We had 100 people signed up. Now about 200. We're going to let a smaller amount of people in so we can enjoy adult or water beverages together before all the other mixes start. This is at 4 p.m. so you can get nice and cruisy by 5 p.m. and you'll just breeze through all your dinners, and I guarantee you'll close a lot of investments and whatnot with like 4 shots in, or maybe 6 shots. So come to both of our events, 19th and the 20th.
Can I shill something for you, Mishka?
Please do.
Well, this doesn't happen very often.
That's why I love it. It's a rare love.
You've had some good hits recently. I thought your podcast with Medica was interesting because Medica, the company, is really interesting. And these multi-arm bandits you talk about, right? And this isn't a new concept. Like the Super Scale guys, I remember were singing its praises on a podcast a while ago. But this is something that I don't see when I work with a lot of different clients. And I work with clients like at all different sizes. And I'm just surprised I don't see this more, or the way that I've seen multi-arm bandits, even at the bigger boys, still hasn't been done very well. But the whole idea is to set up experimentation as a service. And so the idea is like you can pick a variable and then you can throw in new variants. And what it does is it tries to optimize amongst the variants you have. And so the original analogy for this is that if you're at Vegas, you're trying to figure out which slot machine has the highest ROI, you pull off them, observe the returns, and then reinvest your portfolio after observing the returns, chasing the winners and cutting the losers. And you can do this with a multi-arm bandit at scale. And the other thing you can do is you can like choose things like an exposure arm. So when you add a new variant into the pool, you can immediately expose it to a large share of your installs to see whether or not it has pickup. And the thing that is really cool about Medica is that you can also do partial equilibriums. So you may find that like for one group of users, this is the equilibrium that they retain best at. It's this particular value, it's this particular variant, rather than trying to converge to one winner, which is really freaking cool. So like a really practical example, match 3, you're working on seeds, which is how you configure the initial board. There might be a segment that optimizes on difficulty. There might be another one that segmentises on like being lower attempts per success. But there's so much you can do if you combine game design with tools like this that I still haven't seen developers get properly done and exposed even in mobile at the scale I thought it would be by now.
Yeah. Just 2 words about Medica. Like I'm super impressed by these founders. I think we properly met for the first time at Plays Summit, the one that you were on in the villages of Finland. These guys are no slouches. Like they build data analytics companies. This is what they do. Like built first one that acquired by King. So they were there scaling King from mid-size to a goddamn giant. Then they build another data analytics company that gets acquired by Apple. So they're running through the whole growth loop under the privacy network. And now this is their third one. So super impressive, guys.
What the fuck are you guys talking about? Can you like?
So
can you
I have
start
this,
with
I
some
have this
context?
analogy.
Like, who are these guys?
So I've used this analogy, and they said this is okay. This is how I understand, because Phil is smart, I'm dumb. So you have an ice cream kiosk, and let's say if you're running an A/B test, you'd be testing like you have 3 flavors. You got your strawberry, you got your chocolate, you got your vanilla. And the A/B test would say like most of the people like vanilla, hence let's go with the best variant. Now, this ice cream kiosk is only going to serve vanilla because in the A/B test, what came out first was vanilla. And with the multi-arm bandit, or as I call it, the personalization means that now you can serve all 100 of different flavors and you just personalize it to everybody's need rather than trying to find what is the best for most.
So it's an experimentation company? All right. Okay.
There's a little bit more to the analogy. What you're trying to do, you're adding flavors to the truck and you're removing flavors that aren't selling well. And so over time, you can just continue to test new flavors, which is great.
Jen, there's a marketing component because it ties into your MMP. So basically, it modifies, personalized directly as it comes through different channels. So now, based on the creators and based on the channels you're using, they are automatically segmented and personalize the experience of them. So
Chris looks like he has something painful going
someone
on.
Shoot me. Does there anyone have any precision of language in this fucking podcast? Okay. We've been talking for 5-10 minutes about this bullshit, dude. Okay, fine, we got it. This is a personalization engine for fucking game development. Great.
That's what I wanted you to start with.
Let's go.
All right.
Move on.
Okay.
Jesus Christ.
Let's talk about FIFA then.
Quick correction. FIFA Online is actually made in Korea, not China. I actually knew this. I don't know why I said what I said, but it's called EA Spearhead. And also, what I really didn't know is I think a lot of the revenue is actually driven out of Korea, not necessarily China, although it is in China and Southeast Asia, but the majority of the revenue is in Korea, right? So this is a mistake, and I was corrected there. But my conclusion still applies. Get free to play the fuck away from Andrew and Redwood Shores and Vancouver and put it where it actually they actually know what they're doing, right? That's the moral of the story, regardless of whether it's made in China or Korea. So that is the conclusion to draw.
Well, hold on. I think there's more going on here. So like that SKU does a substantial amount of money, like a substantial amount of money. Like it definitely isn't a lion's share. Don't get me wrong. Like if we think about FC, whatever, into 3 different components, like box sales, Western FUT, and then we think about FIFA Online. Like FIFA Online, I would argue, is probably doing a really healthy share there. Maybe a third, you think? You think a third? Between those 3 breakdowns?
I think it's fucking mind, dude. You are out of your fucking mind. Dude, this thing, no, dude, it does like 25 million units, dude, of a $60
what are you talking about? It's free to play. It's
Plus
not
the
units.
online is like $600 to $1 billion.
No, it's free to play. It's free to play. What are you talking about? It's not about units. FIFA Online is free to play.
No, you are arguing the buckets, Phil, and Cress is saying that you are underestimating the boxed product.
Unit sales. I would say maybe 10, 15 on a realistic basis. What do you think? 600 million a year, maybe? FIFA Online?
No way. No. This doesn't do that kind of money, dude. 600
I don't know
million
about
for the
that.
FIFA Online?
Yeah, I think so.
Plus it's net and there's lots of distribution fees and like you're dealing with Nexon and Tencent as distribution partners in Asia. Like it's not as profitable. The revenue might be significant, but it's not as profitable as fucking FIFA, dude.
That being said, do you think there's anything
FC.
to this free-to-play SKU being interesting as like some sort of end game solution for the West?
No.
Like
They've
they
been
have
talking
free-to-play
about
FIFA.
this since I was there. No, it plays a role. It's awesome. But, like PC free to play is not a thing. I was in the group called Play for Free at EA. They got shut down.
Well, Battlefield Heroes made a lot of money. Rest in peace.
I know. I
sweet
worked on
child.
Battlefield Heroes. It was awesome. But no one does that in the West. Like PC free to play is not a
There's
thing.
$1 billion in revenue from packaged goods, on a yearly basis. It's like they're not never giving that up.
I think you've got to think about this like in different stages though. Like, okay, what happens if you turn on the free to play spigot? Like, let's say when the game's trailing off. What happens if you do more free weekends? What happens if you do more shareware versions? Like, there's a lot of middle grounds here too.
They're doing that. I think they had like a $5 SKU for FIFA like earlier this year, right?
Yeah. Don't get me wrong. I agree with you. There's no way you give up that box revenue. It's insane. I just think it's, first of all, interesting that this does exist, that they have made an economy version that's this compelling. It does well in the East. And I think there's something there when you start to think about where the box SKU goes in the long run.
Okay.
All right, next.
All right, let's talk about the new approaches to AAA development. So this was an article from Game Industry Biz, and this was actually pretty hard to read. I stopped it at one point and had to take a walk and then came back and read through it. So this is about Probably Monsters, aka also known as the Limpy Donkey winner from the TWIG Awards earlier this year.
Golden Twig.
Golden Twig.
If you're going to say our branding, you got to do it right.
Golden Twig Limping Donkey nominee. So if you forgot what Probably Monsters is, here are some facts. The company was founded in 2016 by a former Bungie head, Harold Ryan, with an aim of transforming AAA development. Makes all the sense. Till date, they raised just merely $220 million. They built multiple studios, and you've actually heard, and they have scaled to 400 people, you've actually heard of one of their studios. It's called Firewalk. They made a game called Concord that PlayStation published. Anyways, so 9 years since their founding, it's time to release 2 of their games. And they also changed their strategy. So now they are not transforming in AAA development according to this article, but they're rather using a shotgun approach, throwing out relatively small and quick to make games, then seeing which ones stick.
No, Mishka, I don't believe any of what you're saying is real. I can't believe no. Who said this? Was this a reporter? Was this a press release?
I'm quoting Ryan on this one. We'll be shipping games every year from here on forward with multiple different genres. And basically he's talking about, there's, screenshot of their latest game that is coming out. Again, looks like 4 people out of Ukraine made this in 2 months.
2D
And
side-scrolling shooter?
Exactly. It's like
$200 million.
It looks like an Eastern European, weekend project. So I just want to go through this. It was hard to read because in a way, this is kind of like a disaster PR. I was asking myself a question: why is this interview being done? If usually interview is done because of funding, but this company will never raise a dime. Let's be honest. Like 220 million and no games shipped in 9 years. No. Are they hiring? That's another reason for PR. Well, they have let go half of their staff by now. So there are 200 people actually at this company at the moment, and they've had multiple redundancies. So probably not hiring. And so the only reason they're doing this is to promote a new game. But this game, Storm Lancers, that they're promoting, image shown here, again, it's not probably the best channel to promote a new game you're launching on Steam, to promote it on Games Industry Biz. Like, that's not the target audience.
But he also did an interview with Christopher Dring on the Game Business podcast. I didn't listen to it, but I saw it in my feed.
I now
so
might
he's
have
on
to listen
tour
to it
right now.
Yeah, so he goes on this PR tour, and this would be very interesting if he would be self-reflecting of what were the challenges and how come. Like, the way I'm seeing it, they were too slow, clearly. They were too ambitious. Setting up 4 AAA studios is, ambition. And they are too expensive. Like, the headcounts are, based out of US or North America, that is too expensive. And now they're trying to survive by throwing spaghetti at the wall. Everybody who sees the image, it might be a fun game, but it is not the type of game you would expect from a company that has raised $220 million. Like if you'd be seeing this as a VC, you'd be like, what the fuck? Like, where did my money go? And I don't know. I would advise not to do this type of an interview, but Chris, what's your take?
I mean, the only thing missing is like an investment from A16Z or Lightspeed, right?
Oh shit, Eric!
But ironically,
dude,
we're probably investing in no gaming whatsoever. Anyway, the interesting thing is it was like Activision Blizzard and LKCM investors, which seems to be the only investment they ever made was in this company, which is kind of goes to show you $250 million, like absolutely ridiculous. Like this was like clearly back in the heyday of the VC insanity during COVID. And this is kind of the result, mismanaged probably from the get-go, hiring, spending hundreds of thousands of, if not millions of dollars on game developers and producers, whatever, dude. It's like the same story, different thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, this never made sense. Anyway, this big VC investments never made sense in gaming, and we're just seeing the aftermath of it. Oh, by the way, as an update to Believer, even though they didn't announce anything, evidently they did find some interim funding, which was not disclosed, in order to keep them alive. So we'll see where that goes. So
did they find $200 million? $200 million. That's
don't know.
For 9 years.
All right. Just a really quick thing, get your old Switch stuff now because Nintendo has hiked the prices of all of their old Switch consoles, Switch 1 and accessories in the US, not impacting Switch 2, luckily. So price increases for Nintendo stuff. Now, let's do it. Epic versus Google. What's the aftermath? Big week last week. Cress, take us through it.
Oh, man, I just started playing. Hold on.
Oh, sorry. Cress plays games during the podcast, everyone, just in case you wanted to know, because he is so not fascinated when we talk about other shit. So am I vamping enough for you to finish your level in King Shot, or what the fuck are you even playing?
World of Warcraft. It's usually an MMO.
Don't worry about it. All right, here we go.
It's not like you have a script. You see what I'm going to say is like one sentence long.
Okay. All right. Sorry. Anyway, so the U.S. Appeals Court ruled in favor of Epic once again against Google, forcing Google to open up the Android app distribution and payments. Developers can now use third-party billing linked to external payment options and distribute rival app stores. So in a nutshell, this creates rival app stores on Google Play. Immediately, you avoid the 30% fee. It creates like the ability to do direct user acquisition and basically continues to leverage the momentum that Epic was feeling with Apple. And it actually pushes you in more aggressive reforms on the Google side. Is kind of what the net of it is from a distribution perspective. So huge win for Sweeney and Epic. I think Sweeney was out there saying that this is an absolute momentous occasion, doing his whole PR thing about this stuff. So my take, a huge victory for Epic, just generally speaking, definitely a watershed moment for the antitrust, for Google to basically loosen its grip on the Play Store for both billing and distribution. So stores, as well as being able to do direct payments for customers. However, the full effects of this probably won't be visible for another couple of years because Google is going to mount like a resistance against it and delay these changes or even overturn these changes potentially in the courts. So we're not done, but this was a big victory for them. Again, I continue to believe, and I got some wink, nods from some folks at GDC that what ultimate the reaction is once they've exhausted all legal obstacles is that they're going to reduce the fee. So, and maybe get down to a 20% range. And then maybe that it won't change the fact that you'll be able to go off the App Store and build your own stores, but it will kind of eliminate the want or need to do so, right? If it's at 15 to 20%, let's say, why bother? Right.
Yeah.
In my opinion.
Google is trying to put stays and freezes and hold right now. August 15th is the date. And by the way, all of this is in the US. I think, we always say that the EU DMA is a completely separate thing that influences Europe. This is a US only thing. So August 15th is where currently these effects will take place, unless Google, like you're saying, can go and get another freeze. They are out there saying, oh, it actually doesn't take them that long to unlock some of this. So here are the things that might happen on August 15th. Google is going to be stopped from forcing app developers to use Google Play billing. It's going to let Android devs tell users about other ways to pay from within the store. Lets devs link to ways to download their apps outside of the Play Store. It's the UA piece you were talking about. And then this is kind of interesting, Phil. Like, you can set your own prices. Like, do we even care about like setting your own prices? You want to do like $3.15 or something? Is that what that means? Does anyone care?
I still don't know what setting your own prices means. I can set my own price.
Don't you have to do it with a 99 at the end? Isn't everything like $1.99, $2.99?
No, I don't think so. Like, I've gotten things in different Swedish krona too that are outside that specific denomination.
Okay. Well, it's one of the things on the list. You can.
There were some restrictions on like the maximum you could charge for a SKU, but they've greatly loosened so many of those requirements. Like, do you remember we were looking at like the $800 SKU that was on Millions of Million Lords, the 4X game? Yeah. Like, that was something that was web only. I forget what the limit is now. I think it's like $10,000, and the amount of SKUs you can have, first-party SKUs in the App Store, has been significantly increased. Like, a lot of these benefits kind of, I think, sometimes get oversold now that they've been loosened. But to Eric Kress's point, like, they only loosened that because I think they started to feel competition and pressure.
Yeah. I
think that's very real. They'll make more money at 20% potentially than 30% with the competition from App Stores now. Like, that may be the new best price for them.
Yeah. It makes sense. They should get something for running the platform. I think we all wish they would have just gotten there sooner. Okay, what else we got? Atari? Is that
Atari? Yeah, well, this is not about Atari. So when I look through the news, I'm trying to find something that triggers Kress. So I believe this is the one. I found a company. So Atari acquires 82% stake in Thunderful for $5.2 million. That's not an interesting topic. Then I started looking at this. So Atari is a French-based gaming holding company. And they acquire 82% of this Swedish-based public indie games publisher and developer, Thunderful Group, for a very small amount of money. And then I look at this Thunderful Group, and this is amazing. This is like Swedish financial engineering at its best. So this is in the flow of MTG, Stillfront, EG7, Embracer, and Thunderful must be one of those, private equity managed companies. And between 2020 and 2021, this Thunderful pursued a Thunderful M&A strategy, and they spent $150 million making 5 acquisitions. And if you look at the charts over here, it shows what are the sales of this group. So in 2020, it was $330 million. 2021, they go to $370 million. Then they start collapsing. So a little bit under 300, then closer to 250. And in 2024, this company made less than $30 million. So what happened? Massive decrease in sales, followed by absolute collapse in sales. Then there's a fire sale. And when I was looking at some of these assets that they have sold, for example, they bought this German indie developer Head Up for $13 million. And then literally like a year or year and a half later, they sell it back to founders for $500,000. So that's a nice pot for the founders, and they get their company back after a while. And then as their sales collapsed, the share price collapsed, their EBITDA collapsed, and I don't know what the future of this company is. Probably not too bright. Probably nobody needs this publisher that doesn't seem to publish anymore. But, Eric, who do you think is the next Swedish conglomerate to go under a fire sale?
Well, EG7 and Stillfront are like on the respirator. Like, EG7's like $120 million and Stillfront's like $260 million. The fundamental problem is that like there's no real value within the companies, and I've been talking about this for years on the podcast. It's like the aggregator shit never made any sense because they weren't acquiring teams that actually could make new games, right? That you could build. Again, organic growth was never, ever seemed to be achieved by any of them, right? All of them were basically banking on old games, and that was it. The capability just wasn't there. And so that is kind of the story. The only one that I kind of have hope for is EG7 to some degree, because they do have teams in there that are managing some interesting IP, like, EverQuest, etc. But then again, do they have the capability of actually building new shit?
MTG, I think, has been quite conservative.
Oh, you're right. MTG, yeah, you're right. They're a little bit better too. But the point is that, like, there's no value in these companies, right? I don't see how this would be valuable to, say, like Scopely, right? Or EA, or, I mean, hell, they bought Glue, so maybe, who the fuck knows, right? I don't know.
Made glue out of glue. That's what they did.
Yeah, really, seriously. So yeah, I just don't see the value for anybody on this. Atari, I don't even know what Atari is doing right now. They've been restructuring and rejiggering things for a long time, so maybe they have some master plan. What's interesting is this juxtaposed to the next story. The next story is kind of the future. This is what we're talking about is the past. So let's go back to Turkey. Let's go talk back to
Turkey. So good job Games for raising $60 million Series A. I think this is now the record. I think previous one was 50, maybe. I don't know. So about Good Job Games, this has previously been a hyper casual publisher.
That's not fair. Remember, they came out as Zen Match. They sold that company, which was more hyper casual match, which was, I wouldn't call it hyper casual match. An ad based match, ad based puzzle. This has always been dedicated to match. Good Job Games.
Okay, because
they've only worked on this, from what I understand.
Got it. So I looked at their numbers for hyper casual. They had about 50 million installs, which is not a lot for a hyper casual. Dabbled in it, sold the portfolio, moved to match 3, and then the story starts. So the story is relatively short from now on. Like, they made Match Villains, came to a seed round, raised a $23 million seed. Like, when people are having hard time raising, look at this company. $23 million seed. And you're like, when did they do this? Well, in March, this year, March. And now they raised $60 million Series A. So 4 months later. Their game against what they're raising is called Match Villains. So if you haven't played it, please download Match Villains. They have, according to Sensor Tower, about $12 million in net revenue and $3 million in downloads. But that's not the story. The story is here in an image. If you're watching on Spotify and YouTube, we're looking at revenue per download. And the revenue per download curve has a very promising start. I put in here Match Villain versus Royal Kingdom and Royal Match, which is the royal duo from Turkey's Dream Games. Currently, revenue per download already is higher when starting from the launch period, higher than Royal Kingdom, latest one, and seems to be continuing to increase and looks very promising. Very fast rise, and of course they've took all the learnings from Dream Games and made an excellent product. Here's my hypothesis. I don't know if this is true, but this is my conspiracy theory. I have to give some. So we had a founder of Grand Games on a podcast maybe a half a year ago, and Grand Games raised the fastest Series A, I think, in Turkey, and his Series A was 30 million. The interesting part about this is the founders of Grand Games actually left Good Games and founded their new studio and had a lot of success. And so I was kind of thinking about, like, are they raising so much of a capital so quickly just to kind of flex on the guys who left them? And like, look, we're actually the true mothership and true rocket ship here. I don't know. This might be just totally my thinking, but it's really around that I feel like they're raising too much capital too quickly, based on the fact that there are other sources that you can use to scale your game. So if you're raising only 60 million in equity, I think you could have raised a little bit less, given less from your company, and used other source of non-dilutive funding. Like, I know General Catalyst, who actually was on a podcast recently, we haven't launched that. They talked about how they have been funding companies like Superplay, that Playtika acquired for $2 billion, in how they scale their game. So anyways, I'm going in a tangent, but overall, seems like Good Job Games is a phenomenal company. They have an absolutely monster of a hit. They're raising really fast. They're scaling really fast, and hope they do dreamy numbers. Chris, what's your take on this?
Well, just a little bit more context here. Match Villains has been around for a while. You remember, it's a pivot from an earlier brand they had that was more family centric. I actually worked with them a while back on that one. They pivoted. This is their new version. It's taken a long time to get to this point. It's in the United States now. It is scaling in terms of downloads. I think it's around 2 million a month, 2.5 million a month in revenue. So that's still pretty small. What is that? Maybe $50 million run rate. But you're completely on point. Like, if you have the ability to take lines of credit, which everyone is in on, I don't know why you give away your company. If you're buying profitable traffic, if you're profitable ROAS, I think this has been a really big invention. for founders and mobile free to play. I'm surprised we aren't seeing more of this spreading just in terms of everyone's starting to offer it. But I just expect this would radically change some of the VC founding landscape too and funding. Like now you're crowding out VC, right? There's less demand for VC.
Well, it's not less demand. You still need capital to grow your organization, to hire people, to.
But at the margin.
Yes, but I wouldn't probably take all the money for my UA as equity funding. I would use other sources for that. But of course, equity funding makes sense when you're building out your organization, hiring people, your capabilities, your infrastructure, all of that. Yes, you need funding for that. But to fund your cohorts, if they're looking as promising as they look here on the chart, then I would assume UA funding, whether it's smaller at a scale, like in the beginning, like the PVX partners, or larger one, like General Catalyst, that literally, funds biggest consumer SaaS company,
or Medica,
customer acquisition. Medica, but those are still relatively small. But all I'm saying is there are very, very big funds that offer almost infinite money if you have the cohorts for it.
Okay, all right. But first of all,
I was waiting for you, Chris. I was like, oh my God, please stop this.
Look, stop the marketing talk.
I actually don't know anything specific about this deal, although I do talk to these guys, Anthos and Menlo, once in a while. So these two big fucking huge funds are making the investment. So clearly they're very, very sophisticated people. This is not like, Lightspeed or A16Z investing in bullshit, right?
My God, Eric.
Dude.
Wow.
Eric, just to be clear, the partner from Menlo is former partner of Lightspeed. So
anyway, we know what we're talking about. We know what I'm talking about. Anyway, I would imagine there's like either two scenarios here. One is, first of all, I think these guys want to get involved in the market in Turkey, so they're probably offering relatively favorable terms. The second thing I would imagine, and I don't know, is that either early investors or insiders like cashed out, because you can't do that if you're trying to, get it from General Catalyst for UA spending. So there's a possibility that some equity was sold as well during this round, right? Potentially. I don't know.
Secondaries. Yeah.
Yeah. So secondaries for existing shareholders. So there's other reasons why you would take VC money at this stage, even though they probably don't need to, because I bet 99% of the capital that they raise is going to be used for UA. So anyway, people want to get in because this is the only place in gaming that makes sense right now. So for an investment perspective, unless you're Lightspeed. So yeah, I mean, that's it. What else is there? This market is really hot in Turkey.
Yeah.
Lots of investment going on.
Overheated? What do you think? This is kind of getting to kind of expensive area.
Yeah, they're still the only ones scaling revenue consistently, it seems, with these puzzle games, right? So
these paybacks are getting brutal. Like they're going to face I'm hearing, what is it? Now the rumor is 24-month paybacks.
Yeah,
like, man, that's crazy. They got to be competing for the same CPIs with this art style too.
Yeah, and remember, Royal Kingdom hasn't scaled quite as much.
Yeah.
That data point is actually really, really frightening.
How many celebrities can you get for 60 million? Like, let's talk.
Well, you get eight for 25.
Yeah.
So,
what's Kevin Hart doing?
Can we do like a Love Actually situation?
Hey, where's Sydney Sweeney? How much is
New Year's Eve?
How much is she?
Game Awards. She's coming to mobile games.
She is? Well,
Yeah,
who's going to take her? Machine Zone is out of the business, so that would have been my.
There are a lot of 4X companies looking for some downloads.
Will Harbour's new game company. He wanted more.
Ooh, Kingdom Maker.
Yes.
Ooh,
boom.
that's a good candidate.
Okay, moving on. Moving on to games.
In today's hyper-competitive digital landscape, understanding your app's journey from discovery to download isn't just insightful, it's the difference between scaling and stagnating. Enter AppsFlyer, the undisputed leader in mobile attribution and marketing analytics. They've mastered the science of making every ad dollar work harder by revealing exactly where your players come from and how they interact with your app. Their platform transforms mountains of complex data into clear, actionable intelligence that separates winning campaigns from budget-draining experiments. And I know that many of the top game companies leverage AppsFlyer and are a key partner in their success. AppsFlyer, where your app's potential meets performance.
Stay ahead of the competition with Sensor Tower, the trusted source for mobile marketing intelligence. Whether you're tracking trends, benchmarking performance, or scouting the next big hit, Sensor Tower delivers the data that drives strategy. Dominate the charts with Sensor Tower.
Game devs. Here at Heroic Labs, we know that great gameplay is what players love, but integrating metagame features like challenges, progression, and rewards is crucial for retention and monetization. But coding them is a tedious and time-consuming process. That's why top studios have turned to Hero from Heroic Labs. Hero provides a complete suite of battle-tested metagame features that are quick to implement, letting you spend more time on the core gameplay experience. Ready to ship fully featured, engaging games? Check out Hero today at heroiclabs.com.
One game stumbling, another charging ahead. Eric, I think you have news to say on this one.
This is a really quick one, right? The next BioShock, which I've heard mixed things for years now about that game development. Supposedly it suffered some huge setbacks because as they missed like a gate or something and they basically a failed executive review. And so that may be going back to the drawing board, which is really sad because evidently it's like supposedly in like underwater, like, I don't know, just some crazy environments.
Subnautica 3.
Jesus. Can you just stay on fucking track here? Jesus Christ. Anyway, we're not going to see the next BioShock anytime soon, which is really, really sad. But on the good news is, along with an amazing Pokemon game this holiday, we should see the next Metroid Prime, evidently. It's still planning on launching this year on the Switch 2, which will be a great product for holiday, particularly for the core. It's obviously not as big as something like Mario Kart. But anyway, Metroid Prime 4 will be supposedly coming out this year. Nintendo is continuing to do really good numbers. It's very, very, very strong. I imagine this holiday will set the world on fire when, all these games release. And for gift giving, right? Yes. Moving on. Farlight.
This seems like a never-ending story, this Farlight 84. So we had the Farlight launch of a launch. So I was curious about this game. They came out with a new global relaunch that is happening on August 7th. And now this is a pet catching battle royale that receives a major update, effectively rebooting and relaunching the game. The version 2 introduces a new first-person mode, upgraded graphics, redesigned gameplay systems, and fresh mechanics. Now, if Farlight 84, as it's in Chinese said, I'm just kidding, I'm not going to pronounce it. If you're kind of remembering this name, it's because they announced this in 2021. It looked really great. It was the Unreal shooter game for mobile coming in from Lilith, which was absolutely on fire. They had AFK Journey. They had that 4X game, Rise of Kingdoms. So this was like
the
go-to.
Dislight?
This was the Chinese company to watch for. And so they were introducing the shooter. Everybody was super excited. The trailer looked amazing. It looked like this will take over Fortnite. Well, it didn't. It was a well-made shooter. It felt super generic, I'll be honest. Didn't really stand out. Came in so late after the trailers. Felt kind of like same old. Didn't even experience the mechanics later on. And as you can see from the graphs, big launch, almost 6 million downloads in May 2023, and an absolute shark fin as you're looking both on downloads. They kind of tried to keep the downloads. You can see the spikes coming in on the months, kind of like the shocks of a dead body that is being dragged out of the ocean. the pulse never returned. And so we went to obscurity, and now they seem to be relaunching. And I remember they actually even tried a cross-platform play on this one. So monetization was awful. Clearly they didn't have the retention. I was thinking about like, how would they do it? And I would never think that rebranding would be by introducing new mechanics. I thought that rebranding would be like, hey, we made an awesome looking shooters. We have an excellent team. Maybe we can put in another brand, like Star Wars, something that would make sense. Sell it to one of those Hollywood big houses. But apparently they're trying with the same looks and the same vibe, but with more mechanics. So Phil, is this like just not being able to abandon a sunken cost?
Well, I mean, I totally hear you on the hype for this. I mean, I just remember like Lilith was just so hot coming into this launch. Hot. Not only that, like Supercell of China. These games are original. These were not derivatives. This did have like an Apex Legends core, but I thought there was a lot of really great ideas in the original game. Like if you remember, there was this in-round hero skill progression, which was something that I think they were even ahead of Apex on. Remember, there was vehicular combat that was pretty new. The jetpack system was huge for movement. They did a ton of interesting things. And to your point, they had that PC SKU, which did okay on Steam. I was disappointed in the level of optimization. if you weren't from China, like if you were a Western player, you totally missed on all expectations. This game is really confusing that they're choosing to relaunch it. And if you remember, like Lilith has a lot of weird things. So if you remember, they give their employees shares of a subsidiary that is where the game is actually owned by. And so I'm curious if like some of their incentive systems are actually getting the best of them. And like maybe that's preventing people from moving on or moving projects. I don't necessarily know, but I feel like that's been a very peculiar aspect of their culture. And I'm curious how it interacts here. This new launch is bizarre. So they're adding a buddy system, which is like you essentially capture Pokemon in round and they become like basically a grenade that you can use, a tactical. I mean, this was in the original one, but now it's going to be expanded. So now there's super powerful buddies, which are even more important. And they're building a meta around these in-round buddies. And so I'm just like utterly confused on what's going on here. And I think I found it when we started to look at Lilith at the portfolio level. So this is a portfolio scorecard, very similar to when we looked at Scopely. We're looking at year-to-date metrics across all of Lilith's games for the last 3 years. And it has been a dramatic decrease like we've seen with Scopely. So they are down in terms of revenue about 30% across the portfolio year-to-date between 24 and 25. MAU is only down 6%, but I would say the curious thing about MAU for Lilith is that Sensor Tower only has them at around like an 8 to 10 million MAU portfolio, which is really small. Oof. Now I want to triple check that number, but like I did some spot checks and like that was way smaller than I thought. They're really banging on an art mouth here, and their downloads are down a little bit in a softer rate. The entire portfolio is basically Rise of Kingdoms. AFK Journey, I think, did not do well. I consider it a flop. But the other one that's really curious here is if you see line item number 6, you see Palmon Survival. Now, what is Palmon Survival? We haven't really covered this a ton, and I want to spend more time with it in the future. But Palmon Survival is where they should be spending, I think, almost all of the resources abandoning AFK Journey. They have added a Pokemon core into 4X, baby.
Oh,
and so right now this is scaling. It's in the United States. It's not at any crazy numbers yet. You can see here they're only 3 million downloads in 2025. They've only done 7 million in revenue life to date. But this is still the thesis I expected Squad RPG to go after. And I think is why AFK Journey failed, is that they went in the wrong direction. And so this, to me, is what I expected Western developers to do to modify Squad RPG. And we haven't done a lot of it. And we'll talk about DC Worlds Collide in a moment here. But I think this is what I think the West really needs to wake up to. Like China is moving on this fucking fake ad. I don't even call it fake ad. Like it's now a merged gameplay. It's not fake in my opinion. It's becoming closer and closer to the core. Like Kingshot does have real squad RPG mechanics. Like squad RPG is a real part of Star Trek Fleet Command, as we've been covering. It's not just fake shit anymore.
4X strategy survival game. Jesus.
Like, yeah,
Jesus.
You can see, Jen. Like if you go to the character collectors, we can see some of the Palmons. You've got your star system, your leveling. You're looking at a world map here, which is completely irrelevant. It's not a world map, excuse me. This is your exploring map. But you can see that there's also the 4X style map if you click around your usual one.
Same amount of buttons.
There you go, Jen. That's a good one. That you've got your squad, you've got your normal attack system.
Oh my God, it looks like Whiteout Survival. This is Whiteout Survival.
It's with a Pokemon core. And this is just the start of this. Like I'm sure there is more of these in the hopper.
When are we going to have match 3 4X survival game?
Well, I mean, we'll look at Age of Empires, right? Like that was the Tencent attempt. It was like, fuck it, let's do RTS. Yeah. What was the old EA one?
Command and Conquer.
Command and Conquer. They're doing that was floating around.
They did Red Alert, right? Out of China, which is funny. But very on the nose. They probably don't get the sarcasm.
Boy. Yeah, I mean, in the little bit that it's been a while since I played Whiteout Survival, but what they did was incorporate like hero collection, squad RPG, hero upgrading into the 4X system. It looks like they're doing that here with Pokemon style characters versus humanoid characters in Whiteout Survival. I don't know, looking at this on the fly, but
it looks super cute.
Yeah, all right.
It's a cute 4X game.
What else we got?
So the other game we haven't had really a chance to spend any time with, but I'm sure Eric is playing right now as he's on his cell phone during TWIG.
He's probably buying a car.
He's negotiating a deal. is DC Worlds Collide. And there is a reason we haven't covered this one extensively. So this is another attempt at a squad RPG for DC characters. If you remember, there was one that was a while ago. I think it was around the time of Marvel Strike Force coming out. Do you remember that one, Mishka? By any chance? I forget.
But this is from the Swiss publisher, right?
No, you're thinking of Dark Legion. That was the recent 4X squad RPG. This is a just pure squad RPG that's coming out at the same time. This was by Warner Brothers, I believe, an internal studio.
Just hearing that, I bet that this is not going to end well.
So right now we're looking at daily active users and downloads since its launch, which was in mid-June, and it looks like it's settled into a steady state of around 40K DAU.
It's a good hobby project.
Yeah, I just don't understand how you get to a place of kind of launching these games. And when we look at it on a broader monthly squad RPG report, which is really kind of where I wanted to situate this, we had Mystic Mayhem, if you remember that. That is number 19 on the United States top grossing list for July, but it still is not at a decent enough scale. DC Worlds Collide debuted at number 12, but again, it's already slipping. Like, the real winner here has been Pretty Derby. Like, Pretty Derby is something we don't spend a lot of time talking about since our first cast talking about it, but it has killed in the recent months. Like, it did 16 million in revenue this month and is on a $200 million run rate in the United States alone. And the number 2 game, I think, shocks a lot of people. It's Dragon Ball Z. Like, we were talking about anime being mainstream. Dragon Ball Z Dokkan Battle is not only the number 2 grossing squad RPG in the United States for July, it is actually the number 1 by lifetime revenue, which very few people have picked up on, myself included, until I started looking it up.
I mean, that game's been around for years, and they have a new one. Yeah, there's a new Dragon Ball coming, I think. Is it on Netflix? I think some of these are getting a little bit of like content revival too.
Jen, how does this work? There's like 2 DC RPG games on the list at the same time. Like, isn't it usually that you have some kind of a grace period before you can sell the IP in the same genre to a different publisher?
Yep. I've been curious about this too as we get genre blending, is how do you word these contracts?
Oh, you very carefully, right?
I'd be mad. I'd be like, what the fuck?
Yeah, there's a term called licensing, which is, Marvel is famous for this, which is, I'm going to give you the squad RPG cartoon art style only
Marvel
in
teams.
The US, only featuring, I don't know what's going on in this situation, but yes, you can have what's called licensing, which is very specific areas where you can allow publishers or developers to make games. The DC Worlds Collide's it's published by Warner Brothers. I see that.
Yeah, so that's internal.
I don't know what the other one was.
So DC Dark Legion is that the Fun Plus version?
That is the Fun Plus one. Now, that actually, when we look at these other games, though, it's more clear what Dark Legion's thesis was. And remember, we did do an update or a correction on it. It hasn't faded quite yet. It's holding on tight. I don't think it's over for Dark Legion, I would argue. Like, right now, we're looking at 3.7, but this is only United States, which puts out a $50 million run rate. You know, you probably gross that up in terms of worldwide. You know, that's probably a game I think they'll at least continue operating. I don't think they'll abandon it.
Yeah, it's not over for DC Dark Legion, but it didn't even start for Worlds Collide.
No, and Mystic Mayhem, I don't think is in a better place either.
Oh, that was the beautiful looking game. Yes. Mm-hmm. Damn. It's pretty much doing as any superhero movie nowadays. Just bombing at the box office.
Wow. No, Superman did okay.
Yeah, Fantastic Four had a great opening
weekend. Well.
I might read too much of Chris Heatherley's LinkedIn post because I haven't watched it. But I think he saw something that the box office just collapsed after the first week of Fantastic Four.
That's true.
Oh,
that was the week over week drop off.
Fantastic Four box office dive is a bad omen for Marvel's future.
It was super front loaded with all hardcore fans.
Yeah.
Okay. Speaking of hardcore fans, I think it's time to talk about Eric's favorite topic, which is our quarterly torture of Roblox earnings report, which slayed once again. We are past 100 million DAU. I thought this would be the case in the summer. They reported, everyone sit down for this, brace yourself, 112 million DAU. They're up 41% year over year, 41% year over year in DAU.
And CPO left, by the way. I don't know if this is in your news. Because everybody's ready to sell their firstborn to be a CPO of Roblox.
The other thing that was interesting is we have our usual DAU by age and DAU by region. On the region side, we're seeing growth across a lot of different regions, so it's not just tier 3. And on the age group, I think we still have the same hypothesis. Is it people who are under 13 aging into over 13? But regardless, the over 13 is the one that's growing the largest. 71 million DAU are over 13, and about 40 million DAU are under 13. That's a very important statistic. So roughly 2/3 of their users are over the age of 13. I think that's another really important observation from them.
It's also, by the way, it's
bullshit.
also completely untrue.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Why do you think it's untrue?
fucking
Why do you think
bullshit.
it's untrue? The tracking?
Yeah, how do you track when
You
80%
don't track- you don't
is
have
on
age-
mobile?
Yeah, you don't have age verification. All you do is that you have an opt-in and you tell them what age you are, and they're using it to get access to certain features on games. Period. End of sentence. Right. And
But
so
the question is, Eric, is like, why is that growing as a relative share? Why is the relative amount of over 13s growing? Have they done a change to have they restricted or allowed access to certain things based on age that would make people more likely to lie over time?
I mean, there's certain content that people want to get access to, and so they put the age gate on, but they know it won't impact them. So yeah, I'm sure that's part of it, right?
The true age is on the platform then, Eric. Do you think it's getting older? What do you think the true age on the platform is?
Oh, I think it's like the other way around, like 66, 33, probably, if I were to guess.
Okay. I do think that the older age is going to games like Dress to Impress, Brookhaven. The more female-oriented games are able to sustain some of the older players. That's where I think it's going. But I agree, Chris, that a lot of that's bullshit, because with 80% of the audience on mobile, and we all know mobile doesn't track things and how difficult it is for mobile to track, that is very, very difficult for them to continue to understand with accuracy those numbers.
Look, I also want to say, like, I don't really care about engagement numbers. Like, these numbers, this matters to Wall Street a lot, right? But the bull thesis really on Roblox was all about Manuel and unlocking revenue. And unlocking revenue from those audiences that actually generate revenue, which is basically tier 1 English countries, right? So if the CCUs are growing and all this other stuff, that's great. But it's really about monetization, right? And that's what is more bullish for Roblox. And that's why when Manuel kind of took over, like I think it was last June, like a year ago, he took over basically monetization. That was exciting. I mean, he's been working on it for a while, but he was actually more officially put in charge of lots of different aspects of them monetizing. So that's what was bullish. And him leaving is scary, right? To some degree. And so the fact that he's leaving makes me a little bit worried after about 4.5 years he's been there. And just to be clear, he did kind of the evolution of the creator economy in 2021-22, but in mid 2024 is when he really started to like actually make real big significant changes. The virtual billboard ads inside the experiences, which I think is stupid, but that was like the initial part of it. The launch of rewarded video ads, which is absolutely huge, right? Huge, right? That would happen in early 2025. July, creative awards, daily engagements, and audience expansions. And then the most recent thing was the licensing manager and IP license platform stuff that he's done. So anyway, so he basically became in charge in partnership, as I said earlier, with David and the CEO. And that was actually kind of, I think, what's driving lots of the new changes there. So look, I love the CCU. All that stuff is a great story, but that's not as relevant as what the monetization part of it, in my opinion.
So let me help you there. Because you're right here. We're looking at average bookings per DAU. And if you look at US and Canada, $40 average bookings per DAU. You look at APAC, $5.
Yeah.
You look at ROW, $5. You look at Europe, $10. So a US and Canadian user is worth 4x a European user, which is the second highest.
Right. And if you take out the UK out of Europe, it will probably be a lot worse. If you put that,
I think they're poor
take
too.
UK out of Europe
I think they're poor.
normally.
Yeah, I don't think they're anything to write home about. Sweden, different story. But that being said, 18% growth in year-over-year bookings for US and Canadian players as they've scaled the N2. They should be adding lower margin users, and maybe they are, but they've lifted the average so much that they're up 18%. That's still impressive. And I still don't think those initiatives, Eric, have come online fully too. Any of the advertising initiatives.
Exactly.
Yeah, rewarded ads, as I've been talking to people, everyone's excited about it, but everyone's taking very much a wait and see because, the tech is still kind of coming into place, the partnerships. I mean, Google is a major partner on this. The attribution needs to come into place for this to fully happen. I think we'll know more soon.
But this is where I think Eric is wrong about the engagement numbers, because engagement now matters when you have ads. So like, for instance, taking hours engaged in DAU, like you should multiply those things together. That becomes relevant because that's more time on the platform, is more ads you can watch. Again, I still think monetization will dictate eCPMs, but I don't think it's irrelevant anymore. It definitely matters to some degree.
You're right. That's a good point. You're right. With ads now, that does matter.
Yeah.
Particularly engagement in the US, right? Which clearly this Grow Your Garden thing has been a huge hit in the US and tier 1 English countries. So does Grow Your Garden even do in-ad shit?
I don't know yet. I haven't checked in on ads yet, but it's a really good point. So this is a chart that shows peak CCUs. And so what happens every Saturday at like 7 a.m. Pacific time, they update the game with new, plants and all that stuff. And a lot of it is...
They do restocking too. I think there's so much in the game economy we should talk about too. I was wrong in my first assessment of this. I was completely and utterly wrong. Like, I was like, oh man, what could we learn from this? The game economy is very deep. There is a live ops strategy. There is a fuck ton going on in this game. This is not just some random game by a teenager. It's a machine.
It is the most egregious, gross example of monetization design ever concocted by man. Okay.
Yeah.
It's like, it is like every fucking trap and like extraction mechanism for the customer. I mean, it's fucking beautiful. Like in its depravity, it's just ridiculous.
If you could give an award for free to play, what did you used to call it? Like the egregious money grabbing of free to play of just
diabolic. I think he used diabolic.
Oh, what did you used to call it? You used to argue with Phil all the time of like the dark arts of free to play monetization. Like this game does all of it. All of it. But so the thing I wanted to hit just on the number side is Roblox itself hit a peak CCU of 33 million in mid-July, which is very much driven to these peaks. So Grow a Garden peaks in CCU on their weekends in the 20 to 22 million player range. And when you look at the number of visits, and I know visits in Roblox is a little bit of a vanity metric, but they've had 23 billion visits since the game launched. And the game only really launched in like April-ish. And so I've been following the growth of this. And when the kind of like influencer publisher guy like took it over and started posting, like his TikToks got like 30 million views. And that's how they really launched and like really grew the game. And so what he does is he gets out and basically shills the hell out of this each week, telling people what to be excited for. This game has not fallen off. Look at those peaks. We saw those peaks. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, like 6 peaks of 20 to 22 million CCU shows that it's not dying down yet. Like they're managing to keep live ops going.
Travis Kelce, live ops event.
No,
let's go. We got some brand coming in to Grow a Garden. Now we're cooking. It's real, baby.
That's a good influencer. But it feels like totally out of the Venn diagram of a Roblox player. Travis Kelce, maybe.
Football player, podcast, personality, Taylor Swift, boyfriend. I mean...
Could be.
Like he's an influencer now. And I think that's a whole other topic I want to do soon is I saw this data point that Gen Z and below are more influenced by influencers and content creators than actors and celebrities. So if you're a marketer, like stop wasting your time on LeBron James and go find, the next like creator who these kids care about. Like even on this WWE documentary on Netflix, which was amazing. It was the first time they ever like tell you how wrestling works. They had a creator enter the Royal Rumble, which is one of their like flagship events. Speed. Poor guy like broke his leg or something, but
got crushed.
But like something amazing, fascinating is they did this whole storyline. They didn't even have the cameras on it because they knew that the fans outside of the arena were going to film it and post it online to keep things going. Like we do not understand how much the influencer and creator landscape is really generating more news and action than like our traditional stuff. Like it's just so fascinating how it's changing. Okay. See you guys next week.
See you next week.
Later.
You did it. You made it to the end of the episode. As a fan of the show, it would help us out if you'd subscribe and leave us a review on the podcast service of your choice. Those